Hi, I'm Shan Wu with a Under Color of Law analysis of an act of great courage and judicial independence by Judge Dale Ho of the Southern District of New York, a relatively new federal court judge. He is the judge before which the Eric Adams case was pending. And as we've covered before, the Justice Department wants to dismiss the case in what is reportedly and quite strongly, arguably, a quid pro quo. They want Adams to cooperate with their immigration enforcement. This has caused a very big scandal, as we've covered already, with people resigning. Justice Department prosecutors, I think at last count, 8 have resigned because they objected to what DOJ was doing about this case. And now, with Adams obviously still in office, I believe 4 of the top city officials have resigned as well. So this is a huge problem going on. But I want to focus on the judicial part of this because so often we're asking the courts, I think too much, to be kind of the last stand for how to stop some of the illegal incapacities that are happening with Congress as well as DOJ. And we expect a little bit too much of the courts sometimes. There's only so much they can do. I mean, you're seeing that with some of these judges not imposing temporary restraining orders on some of the Trump executive orders. Doesn't mean that they're going to go through. There's more to the cases. But initially, the judges are taking this position that looking at this narrowly, there's only so much I can do. So Judge Ho presented with an extraordinarily narrow situation, which is the prosecutors want to drop the case. Usually that is a no-brainer, as we've talked about. But this was such an unusual case, he took a very hard look at it. It's a straightforward rule, Rule 48A, says that it can only be dismissed with leave of court. He took the leave of court part very seriously, and he noted that it's a very odd case because nobody is arguing for the reasons not to dismiss. He said it's an adversarial system we normally have, so 2 people argue with each other, jury or court determines which is right. And he says, here, nobody is doing that. The defense is on the same page as the prosecutor, and so I need a better understanding of what to do here. Why is this courageous? Well, just check out the New York Post headline, where they're already slamming the judge, saying that he's slamming New York City voters by extending the legal circus. We'll put that link up from it. It's actually kind of a convoluted editorial from the Post, but we can take a look at it. He's going to take a lot of flack for that, and not just letting the case being dismissed, but he really wants to exercise legal judgment and analysis to look at this extremely unusual situation. Why is it so unusual? Because cases get dismissed all the time? It's unusual because it's not being dismissed on the merits, right? There's no argument that there's something wrong with the case. It's legally infirm, it has a weakness, so it's being dismissed. Maybe the prosecutor is confessing error. There's something wrong with what he did, got the wrong guy, the arguments are wrong, no evidence. Court says, fine, you dismiss it. It's also not a situation where the defendant has reached a plea bargain. That's the other scenario where cases get dismissed. Judge pretty much makes some inquiries to make sure it's free, not forced, but it's an easy no-brainer to dismiss it. This is an odd situation because it's not on the merits. It's for some other reason. And here you have DOJ trying to backpedal a little bit from that and yet still trying to toe their line, arguing that Trump has ultimate discretion over anything he wants to do. So in court, as we've covered, Deputy Attorney General Emile Bove, or the acting Deputy Attorney General, shows up in court all by himself because nobody else will go with him probably. And he's arguing again that having Adams prosecuted interferes with the Trump administration's immigration plans in New York City. Okay, what? The guy robbed the bank and now you can't prosecute him because it interferes with something else that he's doing? I mean, where's the connection? Bove also tried to claim that this allegation of some kind of quid pro quo is really not going on, and yet what else is going on because they want his help in doing the immigration issues. Lastly, I kind of enjoy this. At one point, Bove added, unprompted, quote, I want to be clear. I think the only question is whether there's any basis to believe that I made these representations to the court in bad faith. And the answer to that is absolutely not. Now, typically, the person being scrutinized for bad faith, saying he didn't do it in bad faith, is not like the most compelling evidence. But that gives you a sense of just how awkward Bove is acting right now. And it's really poor example of advocacy, poor example of leadership. On the quid pro quo part, again, we have to look at what they have said, right, to see what's giving Judge Ho so much pause. And let's take a look at this follow-up interview that the border czar Tom Homan did as a follow-up to his somewhat humorous but disastrous interview he did with Eric Adams. So take a listen to this for a moment.
Now I got him on the couch in front of millions of people. He can't back waving us now, right? So I think you're going to see things move in the right direction. If he doesn't come through, I'll be back in New York City, and we won't be sitting on the couch. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to?
I mean, that's a pretty direct message, sir, that Adam needs to play ball when it comes to immigration.
Well, fairness is playing the tape. There's more to that tape. This is two cops talking. We're talking cop. I mean, once you're a cop, you never lose that language. We had a great time in the meeting before, busting at each other. That was a joke. And if you play the tape further, he laughs, immediate response, well, I'm going to hold you accountable too. I'll hold ICE accountable, get what they did done. I'm telling him, I need you to come through on your promise. He responds to me that I need to come through on mine. So this is a conversation between two cops having a good time.
What is your promise?
And people are making a lot out of nothing.
So, Homan looks a lot more tense in this interview than when he was sitting on the couch with Fox and Friends. I think that was a show laughing it up. And his explanation now is that he was just talking cop. Well, we've all seen movies where bad cops are threatening, but unfortunately for Homan, he's not in the movie, and he's not supposed to be playing a bad cop. And Adams is no longer a police officer. But the point is here, maybe that's how Homan acted when he was a cop. He would use his power over them to threaten them, leverage them into things. But that's not what he should be doing with the mayor of New York City as a White House official. He shouldn't be doing that to anybody. And the only reason he can possibly be doing that is it's one thing where he takes a citizen who has no leverage and does that to him in a dark alley or something. You're obviously not going to do that to the mayor of New York, a very powerful person, unless you have one hell of a bunch of leverage on that person, which he does. He's telling the mayor, I'll be up your butt if you don't play ball with us. And what he means is, besides that kind of nasty, unpleasant imagery, is that they will prosecute him if he doesn't play ball. So Ho has to determine what he wants to do with this, while Bove is trying to narrow the issue now, saying, my personal integrity is fine, Judge. I'm not telling you anything false. So what is Ho doing to figure out what to do? He appointed Paul Clement, a conservative lawyer, very well known, former Solicitor General of the United States, and you got to somewhat question, why is it that the Democrats always appoint conservative people into positions like this? I mean, you think they would start to learn their lesson some. But Clement is a very well-respected attorney to attorneys from both sides of the aisle. Solicitor General, he did a very good job at that. It's a very prestigious position, requires a lot of brain power and legal analysis because you represent the United States exclusively before the Supreme Court. When he left DOJ, he was a private sector attorney doing very conservative causes. He litigated against the Affordable Care Act and then also defended a very aggressive anti-immigration law. He won a big case for Second Amendment gun rights people, after which his big firm actually said they wouldn't do those kinds of cases anymore. He had to quit the firm. He clerked for Justice Scalia. I do not know him just by reputation, but he's widely respected. And in the pre-Trump era days, that counts for something because you sometimes take unpopular positions as a lawyer, certainly as a criminal defense lawyer. Me, I'm a little bit skeptical here of this selection, but we'll see what happens. Let's see what he's going to be analyzing. We'll put up a screenshot of the questions that have been laid out by Judge Ho. And it's courtesy of Just Security summarizing that. It's great legal resources, I always say. And let's go through them. So the first is, what's the legal standard for leave to dismiss under Rule 48A? And the question there is it an abuse of discretion? Is it something higher than that? It's not something that is usually thought about much because the judge just does it at the request of the prosecution. Number two, important, what other materials can be considered besides the motion itself, and I would add Emile Beauvais' self-serving outcries? One question here is, what about the up-the-butt tape? Can that be evidence here of the kind of perhaps impropriety or bad reasons going on behind why there is a requested dismissal? Three, further steps, what should come next here? What will actually happen in terms of if they dismiss, if they don't dismiss? For what circumstances are going on here that have to be considered? Meaning, this goes to the with prejudice or without prejudice. And what that means is, in this instance, it's actually a dismissal without prejudice that's keeping the leverage on Adams. So one possible outcome is to say, okay, you can dismiss it, but it's got to be with prejudice, meaning he's free and clear at this point. Question 5, practical consequences. Will there be a speedy trial issue? Usually the defense could care less about the delay. They're happy to let it go longer if there's a chance to get out of the case, but they're not going to waive it here. So that becomes an issue. And most importantly, I think there's a question of who the heck is going to try the case were he not to dismiss it. What's going to happen? Number 6, any other issues? That's like a law exam question where you get this huge fact pattern that says discuss legal issues in it. So the door is wide open for Paul Clement to do a deep dive, which will probably be a rather scholarly dive on this, given his example. Again, don't know if former Solicitor General is the best choice for this. I'd be happier with somebody who's a little bit more in the trenches in terms of litigation and line prosecution than at the lofty appellate level. But this is a great example of slowing things down to shine light on them. It may not go the way that we think justice should go here for Mayor Adams, but at least so far, it's not going how Trump's DOJ wants it to go either. So that's it for now. We'll keep an eye on this and on other cases as well. Really appreciate the replies and comments. Love to hear from you about other ideas, including on Blue Sky. And here's one other thing I'd like to hear from you about. Thinking of starting something like a Substack channel so that we can more frequently dive into things a little bit, particularly on the writing side, so you're not always running into paywalls on things. Not saying we won't charge for subscriptions, but just trying to think through what are some of the better options for putting stuff out to you. So would love to hear some feedback on that. I mean, so many people are doing that, and I think it is a new age of media to have a lot of alternative means of getting the information out to you. So thanks, and talk to you soon.
In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.